All right. So nobody's a show at this point, which means I'm going to play something else, let it go for a while, and come back. Earlier, we had a workshop, and I'm going to be posting some excerpts or an edited version of that. And let me see what we're going to do. Yesterday was about health, and for those that wish to continue talking about that, that will be discussed later on within this stream, considering anybody shows up. If I have enough people show up, I will go ahead and proceed with that. All right, so Tim, okay. I'm having a hard time reading this. Let me pull this up over here so I can actually see better. I don't know why the lettering is it's like light gray, which makes it hard for me to read. Oh, it's Hank. Okay, Hank. All right, took a while for me to get that. So anyhow, all right. Yeah, I'm gonna go and come back. I'm gonna just to let you know as far as what I intend to do here, at least for this particular stream. I'm going to touch in on some of the stuff that was during the workshop, and I'm just going to go over briefly the multidimensional anatomy and the study course that is being done in Patreon. So I'm just going to cover a few things, and so I'm going to get ready for that. Okay, so I'm going to pull something up here. All right, this'll do. This'll do. Like I said, I'll be right back. Nothing is truly manifest. It only appears to be so. This is due to the refraction of consciousness within the energetic relationships inherent to the holographic template. That is the original thought form construct upon which our universal structure is perpetually created. So no creature or thing can be divorced from its innate spirituality, but only of the awareness of its nature. Life is the substance and expression of spirit, and the manifest reality is but a dreamscape, from which we all do eventually awaken. So, still waiting for others to show up here. Again, to emphasize, this is all being recorded, obviously, so I just might as well say this, and I'll say this each time I come on. As it stands, I'm going to be doing this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Depending on what takes place Friday, and as far as people's availability, I may do have cats out there fighting. Anyhow, depending on people's scheduling and time zones, I may just do two streams in on Friday as well as Sunday. But that remains to be seen. See what's going on. If this starts taking off, then I would have reason to do it. If not, then I'll make other arrangements and do something else. I'm not going to do what I've been doing before, which is either things work or they don't. And if they don't, I'll just make other arrangements. Too old to be messing around with anything anymore, you know. So, um, right. I'm still waiting for other people to show up. If there's anybody else, I can't tell if there's any other people watching. If you are watching, let me know by writing in the chat. Otherwise, I do not know you're here. I can share. What the heck? I have so much stuff on this. I have no idea what's going on half the time. And logo. Darlene. Hi, Darlene. Good to have you here. Again, for those, before I get started, for those who may be watching, please just let me know in the chat. That way I know you're here. So I'm going to take my time here, see if we can get anything else going before I get started. And just for, I'm going to repeat myself a lot here because, you know, I'm having a hard time hearing me. Oh, well, really? I guess that's a good place to start. I don't see why you should be not being able to hear me. My levels are fine. That's weird. Hello from Maine. Okay, thank you. All right, so let me try something here. Are you saying you're having problems with hearing me? Is everybody having a difficulty being able to hear me? If you if you can hear my if you can I see I have certain levels going on and it seems to be okay on my end, but I can't tell because I don't know how it sounds on your end. So if you could let me know as far as what's going on with the audio, if everybody can chime in, let me know how the audio is so that you can hear me. If not, I can take measures. Your sound fine. Okay. So far, so good. Darlene was having a difficult time hearing me. All right. I don't know the reasons for that. Well, I don't know what to do. Um, Darlene, can you hear me now? Okay. I'm just taking my time here. I just want to make sure everything is ready to go before we get started. All right. I'm going to give Darlene an opportunity to get back. Okay. It's good. All right. All right. So I guess this is as good as time as any to get started. Before I start, I'm going to go ahead and repeat myself. Like I said, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. Saturdays is time that's set aside for the workshop. So I decided to go ahead and do live streams on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday depends on what happens here, how many people, it's going to take a little while for people, to know that I'm going to be live on the weekend. Um, but depending on what happens with that, I can perhaps arrange to do two live streams on Friday and Sunday, like Sunday morning and, you know, then Sunday evening at 5. And perhaps on Friday, maybe like it depends. We'll see as far as with the time zones and how it relates to certain people, and maybe at least they can catch one of the streams during the week. So just trying to work all this out because it's a lot to work out. So I just wanted to bring that to anybody's attention who's able to hear this. And please give me your input by commenting within the comment section of this video so that I know. Be very specific as well. Give me your time zone exactly as far as what's going on. I can't necessarily cater to one person, but if enough people comment and give me an overall way to approach this, then I can look to try to make arrangements where it's going to be at least somewhat accommodating for everybody. That's not so easily done, but I'm willing to do what I can. Okay, so I'm going to ask the question, how many people are part of Patreon? That is a member of my Patreon, because what I'm about to get into here, it's all provided on my Patreon channel. This is a lot of information. There's a lot involved here, and for me just to talk about it, it serves no purpose. There has to be a due diligence on the behalf of the individual to study it well enough to be able to advance with it, so it becomes a practical application to what you're doing if this is something that you're interested in. So again, we're going to be focusing on our multidimensional anatomy. Essentially, I'm narrowing it down to three aspects of the multidimensional anatomy. And this is really where the workshop comes into. Even though those who are looking to attend the workshop, I would encourage that it be consistent. If you're going to follow through on it, if I'm going to show up, you should show up if this is what you want to do. If not, I'll go do something else. Okay, because I'm too old to mess with stuff. I'm just too old to mess with anything. Okay, so if you're serious enough to want to do that, then be prepared when you do come into the workshop well enough to know what's being discussed so that it can be further advanced. In other words, I can't move on to the other stuff, and I refuse to make just videos anymore. I will not do the status quo anymore. It's too much work, too much effort to do all that, and it's been months and months and months from the time I first introduced this, and there's really hasn't been a whole lot of movement with it. So it doesn't serve me any purpose to just put together videos and put them online or put them in Patreon if people are not really interested in doing it, because it takes time and it takes effort and it takes commitment. Otherwise, it's just, might as well just go to another channel and see what they have, what's new. I'm not about what's new, I'm about what needs to be done. So that's not very popular. So all the links for everything, contact, support, Patreon, my website, everything is within the description. It's always in the description of every single video. So you can go to any video and find it there, and you most certainly can find it in this one. So just saying, I'm easy to find because I'm all over the place. And at one point, I did have my phone number, and my address on my website for years, but I pulled that down because there was too much scamming going on, and people were accessing my information. Last thing I needed was more problems, so I just removed that. So anybody that needs to know anything about me, you get to know me well enough, and I'll trust you with information. So, okay. Yeah, so your workshop Saturdays. Now, I'm sticking with 12 o'clock for me. So what are you, like Midwest or something, like Texas or whatever? So is there like a 2 hours difference, Darlene? Yeah, the reason why I'm sticking with the 12 because that's good for me and it kind of covers a lot of bases for other people. And it's never convenient for any one person, any of this. Uh, so that's the reason why, I'll record what's there and so that people can, refer to it or watch it later if they want. And that way you can skim through things too if you don't want to watch the whole thing or whatever. Yeah, so Eastern time. So that's a 3 hours difference from where I'm at. Should be a 3 hour difference if it's, you know. Anyhow, either way. So 12 o'clock here, that's 9 o'clock for you, or if it's whatever, 2 hours difference, 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. Not p.m., but a.m. where you're at. And like I said again, Patreon, 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 Patreon. These are where you're going to find the materials. Some of the stuff you can find on my website, but not the stuff that I'm doing currently. So I'm just saying, this is where you're going to find the stuff at. I had it available where I was sending people stuff based on request, but that turned into a full-time job, and you know, I can't do that. It has, so I put it all kind of in one spot, and plus I need to be able to have some kind of income coming in this because I have none. I became disabled back in 2020. I lost everything except for the roof over my head. I have no vehicle, yada, 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 yada. I live way under poverty. This is just the facts. So if I do this, whatever I'm doing here, I at least have to be able to pay my bills, you know. Otherwise, I have to take other measures and put my time into something else. It just is what it is. Um, it sounds like exactly what it sounds like, what I just said. I don't hold anything back from anybody. I'm very transparent about everything. So that, should be kind of obvious considering in the last 14, 15 years I've had my face painted through video. It's not like I want to be in front of the camera. Trust me. I don't even really care to hear the sound of my own voice. So it's hard to read into some of the things that I say. I know. I'm a very complicated person sometimes, or a lot of times I just hide it very well. Um, Sometimes it affects people in a negative way. My intention is pure, I can tell you that. So I'm going to take another break here. I'm waiting for other people to possibly come in. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in thus far. And I'm just going to give it another 5 minutes. Let you listen to some music or whatever, or what I was doing before. I'll try something different. Okay? And then I'll come back on here and we'll go ahead and begin.
How deep we feel, one sort of heal, warm flowing light, never so bright, and forever we may dream. In the fields of emerald green, greater beauty I'm yet to see, bound in love. Crystalline, these the fields of emerald green. Oh, how deep we feel, one sort of heal, warm flowing light, never so bright, and forever we may dream. In the fields of emerald green, greater beauty I'm yet to see, abounding love, crystalline. bright, and forever we may dream. In the fields of emerald green, greater beauty I'm yet to see. Bound in love, crystalline, these the fields of emerald green.
All right, so I'm going to briefly go over what is available in Patreon because it just would take too long to try to go through any of this stuff with any detail. So I'm not going to even attempt to do that. I was debating what I was going to do here. That's the reason why I wanted to really kind of take a break and kind of figure it out. Plus, you got to hear one of my favorite songs. I'm a musician, an artist. That's really what I am. Everything else just flows from that. So, oh goodness gracious, where are we going here? Okay. All right, so there we go. All right. One of the best ways to think of your field is to think of it in the context of a torus field, right? This is pretty common, pretty well known. But there's a lot more to it than that. Now, your hands, all this is available, like I said, within all the PDFs in regard to the multidimensional anatomy. It's in detail, okay? So the meridian lines, or what is referred to as the axiotonal lines in regard to the consciousness bands, runs through your hands, your arms, your feet, and it's all the same. On the left side of the body, you're going to have the magnetic aspect, and on the right side of the body, you're going to have the electrical aspect, okay? All right, so when looking at the consciousness bands, sometimes mostly referred to as dimensions within the body, we see as being 7 primary, okay? And then also within the body, you'll see the morphogenic chakras. I like to use, it's like, I don't want to digress here, but a lot of times when I'm using certain terms, I'm spelling it out in a way that it may sound differently in the way that they're used other places. Let me be clear about what I'm saying. When I say, instead of saying chakras, I don't say chakras, I say chakras, because it has 3 tones in it, which has very specific meaning to it. Sound and light are one. Okay, that's the meaning for it. Okay. And same thing with the ekasha. I say ekasha because I'm looking at the triunity of what it is. It's like the Amaria path. I pronounce things differently purposely. So it doesn't really matter how you pronounce any of this stuff. It really doesn't make that much difference. It's what you understand about it that matters. So as you can see within this chart in front of you, all this stuff, again, is available on Patreon, and there's a study guide, and there's quiz that goes along with it, so it helps you in the process of studying it, okay? Now, I'm going to come back to this, but first, I am going to go through the tones. The initial tones, there's higher tones, there's an octave higher tone that goes along with what I'm going to play for you here. This is a track that I created, a video, so it would help you memorize the tones in relationship to color. It's very important, especially when I start getting into this a little bit deeper, and my experiences that I've had that goes back some years in regard to describing some of these colors with the octave higher than the ones that I'm going to play for you here. Okay. So I think this is it. I hope I hope this is it right here. just wanted you to hear that, and you can find that on YouTube here. And the purpose behind that is to sing along with it and have the study guide with you so that you can memorize it. So it just makes everything that is done with a pulse is related to the construct's design. Frequency, pulse wave. There is nothing better than music because it is musical. Okay? It's a harmonic construct, which means it's musical. And the more you look at it, it becomes more and more and more obvious of what it is. You know, it's many things, but for certain that it is musical. So, me utilizing my abilities and creative imagination, I use music to communicate with, and not only that, within a real live setting, not like this. This isn't live. This is residual. I'm here, but this is through a digital domain. Not the same thing as being in person in the same room. Not the same thing. Not the same thing. Okay? When in the room, then there is energetic manifestation taking place, truly, where healings and everything like that can occur, which I, have that experience of being part of and facilitating. I was in ministry for a period of time. I had spent 27 years in Christianity. It's a long story, but I have a lot of personal experiences with a lot of different stuff. And so being present in the same room is not the same thing as what's going on here. This is a digital domain, and it's not the same thing. The primal life force currents do not flow through this domain the same way as they would within an analog or within a real setting. Okay? Just wanted to make that clear, and I'll keep saying that over and over again because it bears repeating. It needs to be understood, because the reason why I primarily am bringing this up is because there's been a substitution for the real thing through the, cyber cubicle. Okay, people have been kind of, well, for lack of terms, I'll use the word born into what's going on, and they don't know the difference between a real environment and this other environment. One is analog and one is digital, and digital should never be a substitution for the real thing. And it's becoming a substitution. And people don't know that there's a difference. There's a huge difference, especially within this generation, those who have been born into this. It's not to your benefit, okay? This is a tool. This digital domain is a tool. It's a great tool. I love that it's a tool that can be used, but it's not the in and all and complete. But there's a whole I'm repeating myself, but there's just been so much emphasis and effort of making this the way of life, and it's not. Okay? Just wanted to make that clear. The primal life force currents flow differently within this digital domain. Not the same. It's my experience is that it's residual. And within a real environment, such as being in a room or within a building or within some type of facility where everybody's there and they come together purposely, think of a church or whatever, think of something like that. Then there's a joining of hearts. There's a reason for everybody there being purposely there. It's intended, and things connect differently, energetically. Things happen differently there. So just wanted to clarify that. But the music and everything that I've been doing with all this stuff, it just helps you to be able to memorize this, You get a lot of benefit. And I realize this, I'm kind of just talking here. So, it is a live stream. So nobody really knows who I am that much anyhow. So it helps for me to kind of talk about certain things so you know why I'm saying what I'm saying and the reason why I go in certain directions that I do go into. It's your purposeful intent is most important of all things. And knowing that how you affect your sphere of influence within whatever you come in contact with. So being authentic as much as possible and being transparent as much as possible where you're allowed to be is crucial for the advancement of yourself and your service to others. Now, you're not here to serve one another. It's service is a byproduct of you reintegrating your true nature. Okay, your true nature is going to do that anyhow. But as you authentically reintegrate, you do it with wisdom, and you do it with meekness. You do it within the true essence of who you are. It's not like you're working up to accomplish something. It's not like you do this and do that, and then you know, A plus B equals C. You know, it's like doing a technique. If you're doing a technique and it's not about pushing buttons and things being done to you. You don't want anything being done to you. You want to co-create with it. You have to agree with it. You have to set forth your intention, and you're the one that's manifesting it in the process of your co-creation. Okay. So everything that I say or do or whatever it may be, it's really for the intent of empowering people individually so that we can collectively work together co-creatively. So I was going somewhere else with that, but I forgot where I was going, so I kind of just went somewhere else. All right. Let me go back to what I was. Let me go back to that chart, okay? At least I digress some more. Okay, there we go. Okay, so if you look over there to the right, you can see the SCS, and you see the number behind that, and the SCS stands for Star Crystal Seal. Okay, you can think of the Star Crystal Seal as being a valve that is able to regulate current. There's a whole lot more to this, and it requires a lot more to explain this, but this is the fundamental basics, okay? So that's what I would like to be able to cover here, as I mentioned earlier. So as you can see there with the line that points to certain areas within the anatomy, you have this pole line that goes down the center that's referred to as the Haar line. You can refer it to as being the center point of the torus field, okay, whatever. But you can see where the color markers, which is in reference to frequency spectra, or referred to consciousness bands or dimensions, or chakras or chakras, right? So in between that, you can see where the star crystal seals lie, where they're at, okay? And their function within that is to act as a valve for current flow, to regulate current flow, to allow a certain amount of current flow to flow through, okay? Yeah, everything's been jacked here. So the key here is to keep in mind that there is a simple process to this of anything pertaining to your own personal healing that is easy for anyone to be able to practice. They don't need to know a bunch of this stuff. And that is the authenticity of expression through a pure heart, meaning through the love that you've always been, the love expression. Authentic, your love, not some other love, not God love, your love, because you are an individuation of source being. You are that. So your divinity here is not any lesser than anywhere else within any aspect of the universal manifest construct, okay? You have many subdivisions of self within the manifest construct, and none of it is any greater than any other aspect of self, and that includes any other life form. The difference would be powers and abilities, okay? But as far as value goes, there is no hierarchy. There's an equality. It's important for you to understand. It's important for all of us to understand who and what we really are. Who and what we really are that transcends the very creation itself is a formless non-entity, all-knowing, all-powerful. Well, that's a source. That's a source being. Your energy, as far as who you are in regard to your energy within the manifest construct that we're presently in, is subdivided. Okay, and so we have stations of identity or names to identify what is taking place in regard to that. So we would look at the idea of soul. What is soul? Soul is a subdivision of who you are in regard to you being energy. Your spirit is what's energy. Also, your spirit within the construct has a body itself. Alum ir aduna. That's the spirit body construct form. Okay? But who you are in your essence transcends all that. Okay? When we're talking about the manifest construct and who you are outside of it is two different things. And who you really are is that which resides outside of the manifest construct. You're not born, you're not created, you've always been. Okay. So when we're looking at soul, we're seeing soul as a subdivision of that energy, also referred to as being stations of identity within the construct. And so there's a lot of variability with that. There's different stations of that identity throughout the different densities, okay? So we're not working from the bottom and moving up. We come in from within. It's another way to look at this. Hopefully I'm not going all over the map here because I'm trying to give a broad brush view of this. So hopefully everybody's following along thus far. Hopefully I haven't confused things for you. But we come into this like if somebody, as an example, let's paint a picture of what it means to come into a universal construct, okay? The essence of who you are, the being that you are, that's transcendent of all creation, enters into it very similarly to that if, say, that you are, let's say that you're lucid dreaming and you have total control of your dream. You're able to configure architecture, the whole 9 yards. As far as the expanse of the infinite aspect of your imagination, you're able to create, okay? And so now you have this universal structure that you've created within your dream state. And then you're able to put out an invite to those who would like to come into it. And those that come into it can become co-creators within your dream. However, you're the chief architect of the dream, okay? So think of coming into a reality field, a manifest source construct, because they're all different. They're all different on a physics level. They're all different, period. And they're infinite, infinite, infinite because we are infinite beings, okay? So coming into it, it's like coming into a dreamscape. You're entering into, because understand that the essence of who you are is not a physicality. The essence of who you are is energy, and an individuated aspect of energy that's all powerful and all knowing. So you come into this dream state and you become a co-creator within it with the potentiality of becoming also a prime creator within that very dreamscape. Okay? So the difference between spirit and soul. Did you get the idea where I was going with that? Did you understand the difference between that? One of the revelations in regard to being soul is simply just understanding that you're an eternal being. There's a whole lot more to be said about that. But anyhow, let me move on to the other. All right, so kind of we're looking at the morphogenic, the form holding aspect of the 15-dimensional anatomy, the morphogenic chakras. And as you can see there, this is beneath the feet, okay, of the picture that you've seen before. This is what's beneath, okay? They're just pictures. It gives you a guideline, helps you to understand. That's the whole point, okay? So, as you can see, I don't really need to go over this, or do I need to go over this? I'm not. It's hard to tell. It helps when I get feedback, you know. But if nobody's saying anything, I'll just keep going, and sometimes I'll just skip over a lot of stuff because I don't see any interaction. Okay, so it's important for you guys to comment if you could. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And for anybody who's come in here that's new within the last 10 minutes or so, please go ahead and comment in the comments section, in the chat rather, so that I know that you're here. So anyhow, I'm just going to kind of skim through this. Well, like I said, all the material you can find within Patreon. Okay. This the workshop is about people connecting and being able to, because I just don't want to sit there and talk and hear my head roar. It's a lot of stuff to go over, and it would be better if I could just briefly kind of just go over it like that I'm doing right now and hit on some key points, and then you access the materials and you can study it. And then if you decide to participate within the workshop, you can directly ask or interject or give what you have to offer. And it's a time of sharing. I'm the ones leading and heading it, of course, and hosting it, but it's about being able to assure yourself of what you're coming to know. Or so, without me going on and babbling about that, just go into Patreon and pick up the materials. And right now, I'll just kind of briefly go over this, like I've been. So this is over. This is above the head. Hopefully, this is big enough where you can read this. Can you guys read this? I'm thinking that you should be able to. Okay. Let me go back over here. So this is below the feet. And it's MC12. It's important to know what that means. Morphogenic chakra 12. Okay. And then right next to it, you star crystal seal 8. All this stuff will make sense if you go it chronologically. And like I said, I have videos that goes along with this stuff to be able to explain things, and so that you can practice the music that goes along with some of this stuff, so you memorize it a lot easier. Oh, so much easier. But anyhow, and this is below the feet, and this is above the head. Okay. And okay. All right. That was that graphic was in reference to frequency blending. Now, frequency blending is something that I just learned to do by myself. And once you understand things, and I guess the key thing also to bring up here would be, if you understand well enough your multidimensional anatomy, you don't need to be an expert, but if you understand it enough to where you're connecting to it energetically, and that's really the whole point, then you can come up with your own techniques. You can come up with your own meditations because you know how it works. You don't need to follow anybody. You don't need to have a guided session for anything. It's about how you connect to things, and it's about the it's about the authenticity within yourself, knowing that you are connecting with it. A lot of what I see online is people go from one thing to another to a thing, one thing to another. It's like, well, why did you just stop and stay there for a long time? There's no need to go anywhere. Just stay there. Stay there until the sort of, I'll use the expression, stay there until the light bulb goes on and you're actually getting it. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of information. It's like the idea of within the geomathematical layout of the structure, it can get quite complicated. It is quite complicated when you start looking at the structure. But the heart of it is so simple, it's overlooked. The heart of it is the intention. The first creation, vibration, thought, intention. That intention, what is it? Because that's the heart of it all, right there. The heart of that is for the benefit of all life. So it's meant to be simple. It is simple. When you start looking at these different aspects of our anatomy and you start looking at different things such as the monad, you start realizing all of this is us. And you start realizing, wait a second, that intention, that first creation, vibration, thought, intention, that was my intention. That is my intention. And when we align ourselves to our true nature, which that is, things that are not functioning properly within the template, our multidimensional anatomy, starts to realign regardless of what has come along, and reconfigured things. When you align yourself to the original intent, yours, and that's an expression of the love that you've always been, because love is the doorway. Love opens the door. And this is part of what is being discussed within the workshop. Long story short is that your anatomy, multidimensional anatomy, starts to reconfigure back to the original divine order. It starts to heal itself. And you don't need to know very much. All you're doing is expressing that authenticity of the love that you've always been. And it's not so easily done. It is easy, but it's people are caught up within this identity. They're caught up with judgment. It's like, and then one has a tendency to beat up on themselves for doing things. And there's this measure of value based on a hierarchical, as well as a law restrictive perception. And that's part of the illusion. Because all you need to do is love and do as you will. It's really what it boils down to. Love and do as you will. So love opens the door, and within the workshop study, and you're allowed to read through, if you give yourself the time, that is, if you allow yourself to give yourself the time to read through the summary of these PDFs, especially the last three, which is, well, last two, but which precedes it is essential to understand what number 5 is, because I have them listed in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so there's no confusion in the order and the way that they're listed, so you know what to go to. But the last two, if you just allow yourself to read through it, so when coming together, like for the workshop, it gives you a basis to be able to connect. So if something's said that runs kind of deep, most things that are profound and deep are very fundamental. They always are. And it's sort of like, it's like this, when we start asking questions about the different aspects of the anatomy, well, what's important to understand is that this is you, and there's a simplicity of it. When it starts getting into like a technical manual, because within chelantic science, it starts getting into like a technical manual. It doesn't need to be like that. It's overly, exaggeratedly too technical, okay? It doesn't need to be. It's totally inessential. It misses some of the high points that people need to be focusing on. People don't need to learn a whole bunch. They just need, especially here, all you need to do is just help spark the flame that's already resonant within them. Because everybody has the divine spark, because they are. The idea is to be able to ignite that. Are you going to do that with, flowery language and a bunch of jargon that nobody knows what it means unless they've been within certain groups for 5 years or something? That's just absurd. That doesn't make any sense to me, and it really bothers me. So everything needs to be simple, and it is simple. All this other stuff is for your benefit, but to make the connection, you don't need all that. Your authenticity, the love that you've always been, and if you embrace it and say, yes, I am, and you really mean it, you're there, and you're off to the races, so to speak. Again, I just wanted to point out the simplicity. The simplicity gets passed off as cliche. My goodness gracious, no. Please, for your benefit and everybody else, make it simple for yourself. Allow your heart to be childlike. Okay? Because who we are is very much childlike. I'm not talking about being naive or anything like that. I'm talking about being pure of heart. Allow that just to be. Allow yourself to be that. Give yourself permission. Okay? Just want to encourage you with that, because that is so important. So I mentioned the idea of frequency blending. And that's something, I don't want to go into here, because I've covered this so much in the past, and it had to do with the workshops. And it's not complicated. It really isn't. None of it is. Once you have the foundation of what this is and everything, like I said, you can come up with your own techniques. It's about everybody being free enough to be at liberty, so that you can step into your own sovereignty, that's your path. Nobody can walk that for you. And then you can become a co-creator and be effective here. And that one of the things that has bothered me for a long time. I've been on almost 15 years here on YouTube. And the first year I came on, it was like pulling teeth because I was used to working with community and people being available to one another, you know. And there was this, when someone said something, their yes was yes, their no was no. Perfect, perfect. But online, it was so weird. It was the whole thing it had nothing to do with what I was used to when I was involved with ministry. Nothing. Absolutely the antithesis. And it was trying to get people to work together in communities and other people that have, you know, um, had a name, so to speak, were an author or whatever, but had some kind of pull towards like, okay, we have really good leverage. Let's work together so that we can all combined be of service to one another so we can be effective. Otherwise, everybody's doing their own little thing in their own little bubble, and it's really that hasn't really paid off now, has it? We could have been doing so much more if we set certain things aside and make ourselves available. You know, my experiences and my accomplishments have nothing to do with what my intention is in regard to my service, but there's a whole lot of emphasis put on, well, I'm an author. I've done this. I've been doing this for the last 40 years, and a lot of people within this certain circle knows my name. That's an ego trip, okay? And you can't really get anything done with it. You have to have an ego here. There's no question about it. But there's a balance to everything. And the people that are in leadership, instead of them being in a position of leadership, it's really about surrounding themselves with more people that are like them. And this hasn't served us at all. This has been to our detriment, you know? It reminds me of the words of Yeshua. I mean, the real one, not within a canonical Bible, but in the Gnostic, you know? There's one thing that still remained. One of those things that remained is that the bond of love that we would have towards one another is it will be evident to those who are onlookers. When you have a lot of dissension and a lot of separation going on, you're getting nothing done, and everybody's kind of running to and fro from one place to another, and there's not a commitment to, you know, ourselves as a collective, because it should be kind of seen that way. You got people using that terminology, but I don't see the practice. I don't see the example. I don't, I had in mind to try to bring people together and try to do it again. And I realized that's too much work. I'm not willing to do it unless somebody's willing to help me, because it's way too much work. It's too much work because it's such a headache. You have to deal with so many things. People, the people, again, I'm not criticizing. Well, maybe I am. I think it's admonishment. Admonishment is not judgment. It's pointing out the things that need to be pointed out. When trying to get people to work with one another, usually in my case, I was ignored or there was an attitude. And I'm not, alone in that. A lot of other people that I've spoke to had received the same type of thing. And I go, that's just not acceptable. So I'm always about, there has to be a better way. There's a better way to do things. There's a better way to go about doing it. But I can't do it alone, and I'm not going to try at this stage. I'm just too old in the game, and I'm tired and wore out. So, but it's important for us to work together and to co-create with one another. I've had a lot of people quit. They just quit, and I'm thinking, what are you quitting to? Where are you quitting to? It's like, well, I'm going to retire. Really? Yeah. And what I found when that attitude is taken, and I don't mean attitude in a snarky way, okay? But I'm saying when one takes on that disposition, what they do is they end up forgetting the things that were most important for the reason why they were doing it to begin with. It's like this. Here's one example. Do you remember your previous life? Most people don't. Is that relevant? Yes and no. What I'm referring to is intention. The reason why certain people that I was had we crossed paths and spent some time together, it had to do with what they purposely had uh, in mind to do for being here, and wanted to be. They wanted to give themselves to that because of the value of knowing that it was their intention. And then things became inconvenient, and through inconvenience, they quit. And this is what I realized for myself, because I have fallen asleep several times because it was just too heavy to bear, and I couldn't do it. And being a lone ranger is not my idea of getting anything done. When I end up falling back to sleep, my mind would go dark, which 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 means that you forget your initial intention, and you're cutting yourself off. And so someone could come along and say something to you that you perhaps would have understood a year ago, but because one has made the decision to step away, they don't have the ability to discern what's there anymore, because now they're holding a different aspect of energy within them. So when someone comes along and says something that they should be able to understand what it means, they don't. They reinterpret it a different way. In a lot of cases, I'm basing this off experience. In a lot of cases, in respect to myself, they interpret it the antithesis or the opposite of what I was saying. And I'm going, how could that be possible? How could you do that? We were just talking not too long ago, and we were like on the same plate. But if you back away and you step the other direction, you're cutting yourself off. And that's what I mean by your mind going dark. You forget. It's not important to you anymore. Something else has now become important. And the thing of it is, what I'm trying to say here is that you're always beholden to yourself. Always. So what you have intended to do is going to be done either way. The issue here is being in this body. A lot of the times it's in control. This is an animal body that we're in, and this is a symbiotic relationship. When I was 2 years old, I came back into this vessel and had left at 6 months old. And it existed fine without me being in it. This is a symbiotic relationship, and most people become the body or become the animal. And that's very, very unstable here for the divine, especially the angelic human. You can become that very thing, because the immortal spiritual being that you are becomes the things that they believe, the things that they think that should be, or the things that they interpret as being what they should be. There's many ways to look at that, but you become the very thing that you want, believe, or believe you should be. I mean, being blank slated, it's a thing, becomes much more susceptible to that, but not being aware why you're doing it. You just do it because that is what you are. So if you believe that you're the vessel and you've never pre-existed and this is what you are, then that's exactly what you are. You can stay lost in manifest reality for a very, very, very long time. Be it that you're an immortal, the likelihood of you, the likelihood of you losing so much quantum that your consciousness or this aspect of you can no longer hold form. You have to be in manifest reality for a very, very long time for that to happen. But it does happen. In Keylontic science, it's referred to as being space dust. In other words, you just go back to particuli, fragmentation. Now, your spirit and who you are goes back, and that's untouched, okay? But you don't remember anything because there's nothing because all that which was recorded now becomes dissolved. And everything goes back to particuli, individuated particuli, making up space-time. That's the reason why it's referred to as, space dust. Um, anyhow, I digress. I spent like, 20 minutes digressing. That's what I end up doing, folks. Not because I intend to do that, it just happens. Somebody needed it, and mostly myself, because I'm always speaking to myself first. All right, so last. Sally, hey, good to have you here. I was hoping to see Daphne, but she's not here. She's too busy doing taxes. So, anyhow, is there anything anybody else wants to talk about? Anything that I discussed? Anything concerning some of the charts that I've shown? Any confusion about, as far as the PDFs? Anything that you can think of? Let me know. I'm going to go ahead and play. Um, well, I played this earlier, so I'll just use this as soon as I can find it. Huh, if I can find it. It was just there. I would recommend listening to this narration for this. Source, river, crystal river, prayers. There's two similar versions. Is there a difference? Not really. Everything is really about location, vector. When you think of like vector or vecca, it's really referring to a location. So like anything, it's like mapped out location. Um, Source river, crystal river is basically the same. It's the same thing. There's many names for the same thing. And if, like I said earlier within the workshop, when you start looking at all these different terms used, if you look at the first creation, vibration, thought, intention, and knowing what that intention is, everything unfolds from that. It remains the same intention. Now it is just expanding within the room that you're in. So you can think of it. There's some different analogies. Okay, like think of you're in a house, right? And no, let me give a different version of this. Let's go back to the dreamscape. Okay, analogy. Say you're in a lucid dream, and so you created a house or some kind of building, and you're able to open up that building and create new rooms and everything like that. It's really the same place. You're just expanding it and making it bigger. Your initial intention remains the same for the making of that home. Okay, so everything is accommodating according to your intention for the design of that building or home. It's the same thing you look in Keylontic science. It's the same thing. You're just seeing different names for the same thing in relationship to its intention. Like the monad, you see, or the taran. The taran is the ekasha. What is the ekasha? It's the point of all union. Another name for it would be partakai. Okay, because that's the first creation. That's the first creation, vibration, thought, intention. So the whole point of not the whole point, but the main overall aspect of the workshops is to simplify everything so your individual intention is very strong and very clear, because it's all about that. That's the reason why I used the analogy and went over it a couple times during the workshop concerning back in the day when I had panic attacks and when that happened to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and give that analogy again, because that's a personal experience. I was having panic attacks and they were extreme. Okay? Without going the reasons why, it has to do with other lifetimes and yada, 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 a lot of trauma. Long story short is that I was on the freeway when one of these attacks happened, and it was like the worst place because you have other people on the freeway. I don't want to cause a wreck, So that wasn't going to happen. So I said immediately within myself, I said, no, this ends here. And what I did, and I wasn't aware of what I was doing, I just knew to do it. I surrendered myself to myself, meaning the energy that was creating the effect of the trauma. I surrendered myself to it and embraced it with all 100% of myself. And This is what I'm referring to. So when I did that, it transmuted the energy. I never had the panic attacks again. They're gone because the energy was transmuted. I started to reintegrate it back into me, and so on and so forth. Healing started taking place at that point. This was immediate because my commitment and my intention was at 100%. So here's the analogy that I added to this to help put a cap on this, to further the understanding. Think of yourself on a cliff, a high cliff above the water. The water below is actually you. That's your energy. Now, you've forgotten that this is your energy. You've forgotten that this is you. So you're on top of the cliff and you're apprehensive about falling into the water, but you know that you should. So as you begin to fall in the water and you make that commitment, that's 100%, there it is, and then you fall into yourself. That is when transmutation takes place. So why did I bring this up? Because your intention is everything. And so we're talking about a singular point of focus. The first creation, vibration, thought, intention. This is the same thing. Okay? Now, we went over that within the workshop. It's in the PDF, at the end of the PDF within Love Opens the Door. If you go through that and meditate just at the end, just the end of that, the last few parts of that at the end concerning thought, vibration, if you just meditate on that, just meditate on it, read it over and meditate it, and the light bulb is going to go on. And when it does, you're going to go, oh, see, making things simple as possible frees you up so that your intention can reach 100%. Because why? That's when transmutation takes place. Okay, so let me see. Darlene says one was updated in 2000. Yeah, I wouldn't have anything to do with the 2012 thing. I wouldn't have anything really to do with anything after necessarily. It varies. There's a couple things that I thought were valuable prior to 2011, but 2008, I don't want to really get into that subject because I don't follow anything. The only reason why I'm doing what I'm doing with Chelantic Science is because of my experiences that predated Chelantic Science. Okay? And Chelantic Science had names and stuff for this stuff that I was aware of through my own experiences. Yada, yada, yada. So I'm not a follower. I'm really not part of the Chelantic Science community. I know certain people within it. Some of them are friends, but I don't follow. I follow my own path, and I would recommend that nobody believes anything. Either you know or you don't, and just follow yourself. Go look in the mirror. That's who you need to follow. Maybe that's too simplistic, but you get the point. Yeah, I wouldn't personally. I don't like saying too much about any of the stuff that's transpired, especially after 2011. I prefer not to say anything about that, really, for a lot of reasons. But I can say you don't need much, and everything from 2008 or before that, pick and choose what you want. Anything after that, I would say, give it time. I wouldn't really be too concerned with it. Don't follow anything. I know that sounds very vague, but hopefully you understand with what I'm saying. You don't need to follow anything but anybody but yourself. You have everything within you, and nobody understands what that means until they understand what it means. I know it sounds cliche and everything, but one will not understand that expression. You have everything within you. It's simple. That's what all I'm trying to do for the most part is to bring out the simplicity, the simplicity of what it means to follow yourself. Yeah. And that's why I've been doing everything that I've been doing. And, I've removed a lot of stuff within, the doctrine of Chelantic Science. I removed just because it didn't need to be there. It was just too many words and too complicated, and it's like, what's the heart of it? My first thing that I looked at was the encryption of the particide. Nobody showed me what that was, and I didn't want to hear what anybody had to say about it, honestly. I wanted just to know myself. And I mean, like I said, I got a lot of years before any of this stuff showed up. So I kind of trained myself to do things. I've been through a lot of trauma. I've been bedridden twice. There's, I have a lot of internal time going on without this, throughout this incarnation. So I just learned to do things in ways that I can't describe, you know. But I encourage everybody to know that everything is a lot simpler than what it's painted out to be. And it's been my kind of like my mission, so to speak, to bring things in its most simplest way to where everybody can immediately respond to it and ignite that flame within them. You know, I keep using the analogy of those who don't know anything, meaning they never heard of this before. They don't need to. There's a few things I could say to them that would cause that stimulation. And if they're looking, if they're really desiring for it, they're going to cause that to be ignited within as soon as they hear it. And it's something that anybody and everybody can understand. And it needs to be that way. The other stuff can come later, and it will. But that initial connection is, and you start working through your authenticity and your true energetic being that you are, which is the love that you've always been. You're connecting because, again, love opens the door. Let's not forget that. What does that mean? Well, I'm going to post some excerpts or edited version of the workshop today. Mostly me talking because I don't, for simple reasons, like for Darlene, she didn't, for what you said earlier today. Okay, I won't say any more about that. But what's in the workshop, you know, it, there's the reason for the title of that PDF, "Love Opens the Door." It's the heart of it. If you don't go back to the title and see it in everything that's there, then you're missing the whole point. I don't personally, I do things very specifically, and I don't do them because it sounds clever. It just, a lot of those things are overlooked easily, you know. I never put, I'm just saying the way I do things, okay? However people do what they do, and on YouTube, and the thumbnails and they use, and the clickbait that they use, and all this other. I have no interest in sensationalism. I have no interest in putting something in the thumbnails that I used to create that had nothing to do with what's going on in the video. It's always about what's going on in the video. And a lot of it is overlooked because there's a whole lot of information in a lot of cases, but the overall theme in its simplicity is something I've been trying to weave throughout everything I'm doing, and I'm making it tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter as I get older here. You know, that has the focus of what we need to come to know doesn't take much. You know, everything else is a distraction, you know. So it's about personal empowerment, your sovereignty, your divinity, you know, who and what you really are, which transcends the entire creation or any creation field, because you're a creator of those fields. You're a co-creator of it, and as well as a source creator of your own universal constructs. So it's just important for everybody to just kind of know what that is, you know, well enough to where you make the connection. Again, to emphasize, it's about that confidence of what you're going to do and giving yourself over to yourself enough to where that manifestation is occurring within that moment. At least it's creating momentum, and those things have to be practiced like everything. It needs to be practiced as equal as to anything that you do. Again, without belaboring this, you're in an animal body. This animal body wants to do what it wants to do. It's like a wild horse. You got to train it. You got to, you just really do. So put forth your intention and know that what you are is not the vessel that you're in. And you're meant to be the captain of the helm. Okay. So anyhow, hopefully I didn't overdo it with that one. I'm getting kind of tired here, folks. So I already lost my attention span earlier. I have no idea where it went. So let me get back to my cam so you can see my funny looking mug. Mugsy. So, does anybody have any more questions? I'll try not to answer it so long this time. I promise. I'm making a promise to myself. Um, Anything that you want to talk about, anything you want to discuss. Oh, okay. I'm going to give it a break here for a second, then I'm going to come back. I'm going to go ahead and play what I said I was going to play. And listen to the narration for this and take it to heart, okay? It's really important that, um, again, I'm going to emphasize this. If you could, just listen to what I'm narrating over the music that I created for this, okay? Listen to the words and take it to heart, okay? I'll be right back after this. Nothing is truly manifest. It only appears to be so. This is due to the refraction of consciousness within the energetic relationships inherent to the holographic template. That is the original thought form construct upon which our universal structure is perpetually created. So no creature or thing can be divorced from its innate spirituality, but only of the awareness of its nature. Life is the substance and expression of spirit, and the manifest reality is but a dreamscape, from which we all do eventually awaken. Alrighty. So I guess we're going to go ahead and close out. Nobody's commenting at this point, so I don't want to. I can't see anybody who's present here outside of when you're commenting. There's no indication who's actually watching. So, which leads me to the decision to go ahead and close this out because nobody's active. So, which is fine. I'm kind of getting kind of tired here anyhow. So, again, I'll be live tomorrow, same time, 5 o'clock for those who are interested. And if you can download those PDFs, become a member. Hi, Liz. If you want to download those PDFs, okay, and then you can base questions on certain things that you're not sure of or whatever the case may be, that would be helpful for me to be able to go over those things with you here on a live stream, as well as to be able to do that if you can attend the workshops on Saturdays. So again, just to repeat myself, Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays I am going live with the potential of perhaps on Friday and Sunday maybe even doing 2 live streams during those days. So, all right, folks, your support is greatly appreciated on all levels. All the links can be found in the description of this video as well as any video here on YouTube. So until then, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay? All right. Thanks.